Welcome to the show, guys. Got an exciting one here for you. We are talking about the top 10 running backs, the way that it sits right now, week 5, heading into week 6. Who are the top achievers this year for fantasy football? Let's talk about them. Let's dissect them. Let's talk and break them down. And also, at the end of the show, very important, where are guys like Jahmyr Gibbs sitting, Breece Hall, and all these guys that should be performing and are not? Where are they sitting right now? We're going to talk about their current ranking as well and kind of give you an overview on the running back landscape right now, because it hasn't been a walk in the park for fantasy football in any position, and particularly the running back position has had his shares of problems heading into fantasy football week 6. Now, this is not a starts and sits episode, but if you do have a specific starts and sits question, drop it below, guys, and hit the thumbs up. Smash it, tap it, slap it. I want to make this ultra interactive. If you're new to the channel, this is the only channel giving you the truth. Everybody else is just playing the consensus, the ride it while it's hot, the copy and paste BS. That's not what you get with this channel. You get year-round entertaining content that's knowledgeable. It's actually going to help you guys win. So we're talking running back rankings heading into NFL week 6. Again, if you're new to the channel, hit the thumbs up, okay? So let's talk about this, okay? The guy that's sitting at number 1, which is a surprise to me, is Alvin Kamara. 5 touchdowns on the season, averaging 4.3 yards per carry, 4th in attempts. And that's the big thing, right? When you have a minimal committee and you have a guy that's getting a ton of attempts, that's what you get. You get 119 fantasy points after only 5 weeks. Now, 23 receptions, so he's getting it done in the receiving game. He's getting it done in the running game. This guy's getting it done. Now, I think that he is at the tail end of his career. That's why I faded him. I said, no Alvin Kamara for me. This guy was good, years ago when he was with Ingram. And that's the thing that I don't like about this guy, is that he's the one that started this RB by committee. And that's what I think a lot of these teams are going with, is this RB by committee, because durability has always been an issue with running back. These guys get pounded every single game. So they are running by committees, and Kamara, man, just seems to be taking the load here at the tail end of his career, giving his last hurrah. So Alvin Kamara, number 1 going into week 5, pretty phenomenal, pretty shocking, okay? Number 2 is Derrick Henry, 2nd in attempts, 6 touchdowns on the ground, crushing it, 6 yards per carry. This is what I love about Derrick Henry. Now, in the offseason, like we're talking, you guys know we go year round. We're talking like May. I was like, I don't cross the streams. I don't get an old running back on a new team and draft him. But in this case, I was like, I have to go Henry. He's the beast. He's the king. He's putting a lot of money. I think he spends like $250,000 on his body every single year. It's crazy. He's doing everything he needs to do to maintain his body, his physique. And he's just a freak of nature. The guy's an athletic monster, okay? So I give him props for that. Now, he is sitting 2nd in fantasy points going into week 6. 2nd in attempts, like I said, 6 touchdowns and 6 yards per carry. This is going to continue because they're going to rely on him. Now, if they are playing from behind, look for Lamar to throw the ball a lot more. But Derrick Henry is relied on in the game. They are working Justice Hill in a lot of the passing situations. But forecasting Henry, barring any injury, this guy's going to be consistent. He's going to get all the goal line work. There's no committee there. He's going to get the early down work. And he's going to continue to pound the ball. And at the end of the day, man, like, this guy's giving a great return on investment. I got him in 90% of my leagues. I got him in second rounds. He was my second round steal. I'm like, I can get Derrick Henry on a high octane offense potentially here. I can get this guy in the second round. Why not? Especially in a world now where workhorse running backs is, the way of the dinosaur. They're going away with these guys. So I was like all over it. So Derrick Henry, props to you for performing. I love the fact that you are 2nd in fantasy points and you're on my team, okay? Number 3, the other guy I got on my teams as well that I got, and that's the thing. This year I was drafting from past the 6th position. So Barkley was there. He was the guy I got in all my leagues, and I stacked him with Henry. So I got this stack, and they've been really anchoring my team where certain other guys are not performing, right? These guys have been an anchor. So Saquon Barkley, another 6 yards per carry guy, 4 touchdowns, 435 yards. Saquon going into week 6 shouldn't change anything. Like, this guy is a start no matter what. Amazing. I'm so proud of this guy. And this shows you, man, that running backs, players are really products of their offense. If you're on a bad team and you got good talent, you're probably going to do bad. Similarly, where we got number 5, we're going to talk about Jordan Mason. He's doing well on a team, right? Where CMC did well because he was a product of the offense, right? So the offense really does help juice the player and the fantasy stats. So again, Saquon Barkley, Again, great year sitting at number 3. Number 4, Kyron Williams. Now, he was on my show this year, and he said, he looked you in the eye, he said, draft me. Kyron Williams was like, dude, this guy was confident. He was on my show. He came to the Fantasy Sports Summit. It was a virtual online conference. We had him on the show. Football fans, should we draft you, Kyron Williams, for 2024?
Is the elephant heavy? Duh.
Absolutely.
Draft me.
Okay. And he said straight up, man, draft me. And sure enough, return on investment is good. 95 attempts, looking pretty good. Only 3.8 yards per carry, but the fantasy points aren't lagging. He's getting it done in the receiving game, 14 receptions, a touchdown, 6 touchdowns on the ground. He continues to perform. Barring any injury, this guy is the man. And a guy like Blake Corum, right? He's currently, we're going to get to the end of this video. We're going to talk about where some of these guys are sitting 80th in the ranking. So Blake Corum was a guy highly promoted, going into this NFL draft, a guy that did well in college. He was a monster, but is buried on the depth chart. And this happens to a lot of running backs who don't see the light of day because the guy in front of them is just doing well. He's a proven guy. And so many other guys right now are just basically hibernating, not getting the volume. A guy like Trey Benson, a guy that I was high on, sitting behind James Conner, right? And the guy is better than James Conner, just not getting the volume. Now you can say, well, Joe, how is he better than Conner? It's just like these teams rely on old Mr. Reliable. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So even if the talent behind him is better, and a perfect example is Kyron Williams. We're talking about him here at number 4. Had the injury not happened, who was it? Cam Akers, wherever last year, whoever was on that team, had that injury not happened, he would have never got the at-bat. And when he got the at-bat, he proved it. Another example is Jordan Mason, buried behind Christian McCaffrey. So let's get to the next guy. Number 5 is Jordan Mason. Like, the guy is sitting 5 in fantasy points. He was banged up in yesterday's game. I got to check more into that. I think he's going to be okay. But 114 attempts, 5.3 yards per carry. And this guy's getting it done. Number 1 attempts, guys. So this shows you that this team likes to run the ball, and CMC benefited off that. It's just that I told you to stay away from CMC because he was overworked. He was overdone. Super Bowl hangover, contract hangover. There's so many signs indicating to not draft CMC. I was the only one to tell you not to do it. But again, Jordan Mason absolutely crushing it, okay? Volume, opportunity, talent, all there. Sitting at number 5 here into week 6. He already played this week, so he might drop down a couple slots, okay? Kenneth Walker at number 6. The guy's getting it done. And this guy's getting it done. Again, I think this includes the stats from yesterday's game. 4.6 yards per carry. He was banged up. Charbonnet came in and crushed it. Charbonnet had a good game or two when Kenneth Walker was banged up. And that's another thing. Charbonnet buried on the depth chart behind Kenneth Walker. It sucks. But number 2 in receptions here, 21 receptions, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 4.6 yards per carry. I mean, again, another team that just utilized their running back, and Walker's a beneficiary, okay? Number 7, James Cook. I just don't know how long is sustainable. 70 attempts, 5 touchdowns on the ground. That's like more than he had the past 2 years combined, which is crazy. James Cook is not a touchdown guy. Josh Allen usually, steals those. And it's been an entirely different offense. They're still pulling out wins, but Josh Allen just not throwing the ball. So it's been a big disappointment. But I'm telling you guys, James Cook, I don't know, man. I'm not a believer in James Cook, but the reason is because Josh Allen is that guy near the goal line, and they throw a lot. This year, it's just a James Cook show. And you can say that they don't have a true wide receiver 1, but if you feed Keon Coleman, you get the 1. I know a lot of people are ripping on me about Keon Coleman, but everybody and their mother was telling you this year to go, Curtis Samuel's the 1. I'm like, dude, Curtis Samuel's not the 1. If anyone's going to be the 1, it's going to be Keon Coleman. And the only thing that Keon Coleman is missing is volume. Just feed him. This guy can get it done, okay? Because every time he comes on the field, he's getting a touchdown. He's getting only like 2 or 3 targets, and they end up being a touchdown. Imagine if you throw the ball to him 10, 15 times a game, and you could say, oh, he's not getting separation. Dude, he's throwing the ball to him 2 or 3 times a game, and he's getting a touchdown on the one pass. So it's just volume. It's like a lack of volume. So I don't know what's going on with the Bills, but James Cook has been a beneficiary and doing well, okay? Number 8 here is Chuba Hubbard. I don't see this being sustainable. He's getting the attempts, getting the yardage, 5 yards per carry, 3 total touchdowns on the ground. And this happened as soon as Dalton came in. The offense changed, and he's been relying on the run. Chuba's been a beneficiary. I don't know when Jonathan Brooks is going to get going, if at all. But Chuba, good on him. He's eating. Number 8. And when you look at this list, man, and we're going to get to the other guys right now, it's been wild because some of these guys have no business being on this list, and they're here, including the next guy, number 9, is Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones, man, 71 attempts, 350 yards, 17 receptions, getting it done in the receiving game, getting it done in the yardage, 350 yards on the ground. And he's sitting ninth in fantasy points. And again, we're talking PPR here, just simply because product of the offense, no competition. Now, he's been banged up. Ty Chandler came in a little bit. I just don't see this guy also being sustainable here in the rankings to finish off the season, but he's been profiting and doing well, okay? And the last guy, Brian Robinson Jr., I believe is a game-time decision. I think he's got a knee issue going on right now. 4.5 yards per carry, 73 attempts, getting a bunch of touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, I believe, on the year, 300-plus yards. Brian Robinson Jr., another guy that I just don't see him staying on this list. So those are your top 10 guys heading into week 6, and I'm going to give you guys some guys that, man, they've been disappointing. But Kamara, Henry, Saquon, Kyron, Mason, Walker, Cook, Chuba, Aaron Jones, and Brian Robinson Jr. And the last 3 guys, no chance they're going to maintain this, okay? Now, there is talk about CMC coming back possibly in November. Even if he does come back, Mason, if he's healthy, again, he got banged up last game. I look at the injury. If he does come back, I just still see and feel Mason's going to be integrated. They're not going to run CMC the entire time. They're going to give him a rest. They don't want to break him again for the playoffs, okay? So let's talk about some names that are just absolutely crap in the bed. Breece Hall, sitting 14th. I'm not even going to talk about Bijan. Bijan's disappointing me. He is a big letdown, okay? I want to get this out in the open here. Big letdown. I just heard that Bijan is going to be in a TV show. I don't even know what show. I posted in my story mode on Instagram. I don't even care. I'm so angry. I was just seeing like tunnel vision, blurred vision. Like, you're out doing shows, Bijan, when you should be doing stuff on the field. They haven't done anything on the field, right? And I heard he's questionable going into week 6, and he's dealing with hamstring injuries. Like, dude, it's so disappointing. And I'm not the only one that had him number 1. He was a top 3 pick across the board from running backs. Opportunity was primed. New coach. They talked about feeding him this year, and now he's just crap in the bed. I don't know what to say, man. But Bijan not performing. Breece Hall sitting 14th. Jahmyr Gibbs sitting 15th amongst running backs. Very disappointing. A big part of that is David Montgomery, who is sitting 17th, okay, amongst running backs. And I just read somewhere that he was on a show, Montgomery, and in 2019 he was having a hard time. Let's talk about this David Montgomery thing real quick, okay? David Montgomery was going through a dark time in 2019, and I just read this, or I watched a video here. He was on another show recently, and he came out and said, oh, well, I was going to hurt myself and end it all, right? And basically, this was 2019, he was going through a dark time, and apparently his nephew called him, and it was that phone call that sparked the life back into him. But apparently, from what I was reading, again, don't quote me on this, Montgomery was complaining, and I'm sorry that you're going through a bad time. We all have our rough times, man. We all go through our ups and downs, man. Like, I've had some hard times losing my dad and all that, but you just can't sit there and blame the fantasy football community. He went and said, oh, the fantasy football community wasn't making it easier on me. But dude, I mean, if I took what every hater said about me to heart, man, I would not be in a good place either, dude. So blaming the fantasy community is crazy, man. Like, again, we all have our ups and downs. I'm glad he fought through it. I'm glad he's here with us today, and he didn't do anything crazy. But at the end of the day, man, like, blaming the fantasy community is just, it's crazy. It's stupid, okay? So I don't agree with that. Montgomery, glad you're okay, but fantasy community is not part of anything that you're dealing with. Everyone's got haters. If you're up here, man, if you're succeeding, you're going to have haters. You just got to have a thick skin and just deal with it. You can't blame that to your dark times. I mean, yeah, it may impact you, but you must have a soft skin or something if it's literally getting to you. You got to, like, brush this stuff off, man. Just realize they're just haters, right? Or if you are performing and you're having a bad week, we're going to tell you. I mean, just, you got to deal with criticism, okay? And clearly Montgomery not being able to deal with criticism. In fact, one time I said that he was sucking or something. He actually DM'd me and said, man, chill out or something, man, or something. I can't remember the exact quote, but he did, in fact, DM me. I did a whole video on that like a year and a half ago or something like that. It was when Gibbs was in, and I was talking about him, saying he sucks. This was before his dark time. I guess it was 2019 or 2020 or something like that. I can't remember. But either way, Montgomery, very, very sensitive when it comes to criticism, and he's got to have a thicker skin. But sitting 17th. So going back to what I'm saying, it's like Gibbs is 15th, Montgomery 17th, just eating into that volume. Gibbs would be a top number 1 running back, but Montgomery eating into that, very, very shameful for Gibbs. Josh Jacobs, 24th amongst running backs, just crazy. This guy was a 3rd round pick. And I said he's either going to boom or bust. I was leaning on the bust side. Sure enough, he's busting. Najee sitting 30th. He wasn't as high draft capital as guys like, Gibbs and Breece and Bijan, but sitting 30th. very lackluster, very, very boring running back to watch. I stayed away from this year. I've watched him for years. Very, very boring. Rachaad White, 32. Joe Mixon, 41. Zamir White, I take ownership on this one. Just crap in the bed, sitting 61. And just a very big disappointment. But again, not as high draft capital, sitting as a 5th round pick. And I got him as my RB3. Been very, very disappointing. So again, the running back landscape has been rough. I think a lot of the guys that are in the top 10, the Chubas, are going to fall down. Hopefully the other guys that were drafted with higher draft capital, like the Brees, the Gibbs, sitting 15th, the Byjan, start emerging and coming up and finishing where they should be at their ADP, where they were drafted. But again, it's been a real rough landscape. It seems like more and more the offenses are leaning towards this running back committee, which is a shame for true workhorse running backs, okay? If you are new to the channel, guys, smash it, tap it, slap it. Join the Counselor's Edge, where I offer picks against the spread, money line, everything in the Counselor's Edge. Join below. I've been near perfect on the primetime games. Nailed that pick yesterday with the cover and the straight up on the 49ers yesterday. So join the Counselor's Edge. I've linked it below, all right? Subscribe, smash, tap, and slap. If you have any starts and sits for Fantasy Football Week 6, drop them below. And make sure you guys turn on the bell for Fantasy Football news. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon. I'm out.